Okay, this will be the last problem covered in videos, I believe. And again, I trust that you've gone through to read the problem. We're going to move through quickly how it's done. Basically, it's again, a what-if question, and you need to look at the different scenarios in the what-ifs. So let's go through and see what we've got. Basically, we've got an outsourcing situation where we can cover all the costs for 410 from what they've been currently doing inside the company. And inside the company, they figured out it's cost them 412, so they're thinking, at first blush, looks like a win-win if we can not have to do this ourselves. So that's where you, the managerial accountants, or that's where the managerial accountants would come in. You would probably ask the question, how will it affect things, and let's see what it'll do. So the first thing is we want to find out what cost savings we'll have from what we have now. Well, we know, we're told by the problem that the salaries of the gardeners goes away. We certainly understand that the plant materials is a variable cost. That goes away. Same thing with fertilizer. That goes away. We understand the fuel goes away. And so far we've been able to knock out a bunch of expenses. We'll undo the crosses so we can see the marks so we can see the numbers in a few minutes. The tractors and the mowers, they do not mention anything about those, and I think one of the concerns about this problem is, well, what does that mean? After all, these appear to be only related to the grounds maintenance, but I think for purposes of answering the question, what you have to do is read whatever they tell you and assume, I think you have to assume, that they can't summarily get rid of these equipment so that it will continue to depreciate year after year. And so that expense, the depreciation expense, continues. Now, arguably, it would have to be that the tractors and mowers are used for something else, you would think. But the way the problem does work is that they're assuming that the tractors and mowers don't go away and that they continue to be a part of the costs. The depreciation is part of the cost because depreciation is even though it's not a cash expense, it's a way of quantifying the cost of holding that property over the course of the time period, number of years that the tractors and mowers have usage for this university. They do tell you that they'll sell the other equipment which refers to this, so that depreciation expense will no longer be there. Okay, so in summary, while it is counterintuitive to you to think that the tractors and mowers continue to stay there, the problem doesn't give you any indication of anything otherwise. You might say, well, maybe the plant materials stay there, maybe the fertilizers stay there. That's certainly a strong argument against why this problem leads a little bit to be desired. But for sure we know that variable expenses like the cost of supplies for purposes of doing the grounds maintenance do go away. What the problem is teaching us, if I can come up with a rationalization for the problem, is that it's not an automatic that we can get rid of what were fixed costs. That certainly is what part of the tractors and mowers are. They're fixed costs. They're not variable costs. They may arguably be step variable fixed costs because if the grounds were increased, they'd need more tractor and mowers. Yeah, maybe. But I think it's fairly well understood that they were fixed costs all along. And since the problem doesn't address it, but it does address the other equipment that can be sold, the most logical way to approach the problem is that the tractors and mowers cannot be sold, so they'll continue to be part of the fixed costs. What happens from them, whether they're used somewhere else as part of their capabilities of doing what they do, doesn't say. But using that logic, as stretched as it may be, is going to get us to the right answer. So I think it's important to try to just buy into this for purposes of understanding this accounting problem. Not the best explanation I can give to you, but it makes sense from an accounting problem standpoint, a managerial accounting problem standpoint, as how these problems are. And that's what I think we're trying to learn. Obviously, what I have given you is a real strong argument for what if the facts and circumstances justified what I'm saying, which is we can't get rid of the tractor mowers. They're going to sit around. Maybe we'll use them. Maybe we're going to use them for snow removal. Maybe we'll use them someday for something else, but we can't sell them. They're going to sit in our garage somewhere and continue to depreciate. And so that fixed cost must be considered in the analysis here. That hasn't gone away. Okay, having tried to sell that to you as best as I wonder if many of you are thinking, hey, maybe he can sell a used car to me. So I've tried to sell that to you. Let's see what it means in terms of dollar and cents. So to put some light on so we can get the numbers, we would add up all of these as cost savings, and we would see that this remains as a cost, and let's see what we're going to get. So we're going to sell the equipment for 30. We're going to have 15 depreciation, which is that, let's call it unavoidable depreciation costs, yielding us a savings in the first year of $15K. So now we want to know, well, all right, what's the impact of making the change? So the impact is we went from 412 as the total cost down to 410, so we saved 2K there. And because we were able to sell the equipment in year one for 30K, we wound up with a $15,000 savings overall in the actual numbers for that year. And so the result is we have a $17,000 savings. That's really what we've got. Okay, perhaps another way to look at it, the numbers, would be the following. This is the way the textbook would approach it, which is to say that the depreciation here is sunk costs incurred in the past. It's not a savings. It sort of continues along where it's sunk in the past. So you can't add that as part of the savings. But all this you can add as part of the savings because you got rid of the equipment. You were to get rid of this other equipment. So this savings at this point adds up to $397K. Add to it the 30 that you're going to get for selling the other equipment, gives you a total of 427 compared to the cost of outsourcing, and that yields you the total savings in this year of 17K. Same result, two different ways of looking at it. Voila. And that is that.